Drop your favorite prospects that you want the Giants to take in the first round. Drop them down below. And I'm going to be looking through these comments and I'm going to be adding a lot of these players to my list for, film breakdowns in the future.
Once a Giant, always a Giant. For me, it's only a Giant.
What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. All right, so the Giants season is officially over. And yes, free agency is going to come up first. But I'm a guy who really cares about the draft much more than free agency. I just do. Much more exciting. Better build up. You got 300 and something players who are unknowns. And each one of them could be the greatest player of all time. Each one of them could be a bust. You never know. Literally, Mr. Irrelevant of last year's draft is on his way to the NFC Championship and probably on his way to a Super Bowl. You never know what you're going to get out of these players when you draft them. So it's a big surprise. So that's definitely why it's my favorite. And I wanted to talk about what the Giants could do with their 25th overall pick. There are 4 different options I want to go towards that I think make the most sense. You can draft a corner. You can draft a wide receiver. That's 2. You can draft a linebacker. You can draft an interior offensive lineman. And then I'll add a 5th. You could trade the pick. You could trade the pick to go back, or you can trade the pick for a player. So ton of opportunities, ton of options. Let's just do a quick breeze through. First, I'll get it out of the way. You could trade the pick. Now, I just did a video over on Fireside Giants. I don't know when it'll come out. It might come out today, might come out tomorrow or the day after. But we pretty much talked about trading the pick for Brandon Ayuk. And Ayuk is a guy that's going to just be an instant number 1 wide receiver. You don't have to worry about it. You got your wide receiver 1, but you have to give up a number 1 pick and probably a 4th or a 3rd round pick. And on top of that, you got to pay this guy after next year. You got to pay him probably like $22 million a year. So that's on the table if you want to draft, if you want to trade your 25th overall pick for a guy like Brandon Ayuk. The next thing, which I think is a lot more realistic because I don't think we'll make that trade, but anything is possible and I would welcome it if it happened. But the next thing is drafting a wide receiver. I'll kind of let this flow together from trading a wide receiver to drafting for one. I think you have about 4 wide receivers in this draft that I think wouldn't be reaches if you take them at 25. Some guys might creep up. I haven't watched everybody yet, but right now I'm looking at about 4 players. Now, if none of them are there, I think that drafting wide receiver at 25, if your top 4 or 5 guys are already gone, could be a reach. Could be a massive reach. Could be. I do think that this is a solid wide receiver class. Like, as far as you can get a guy in the 3rd round that can play a lot for you, to maybe even be your receiver 2. Maybe. But as far as a wide receiver 1, I don't think there's that many wide receiver 1s in this draft. And I'm not even sure we can get one at 25. So that's something to think about as far as that 25th overall pick. Will you get a wide receiver 1? If you don't, you might just want to wait until the 2nd or 3rd round to take your wide receiver. 3rd thing, linebacker. Linebacker is the biggest need. I mean, the biggest need. You look at Jalen Smith, you look at Tate Crowder, who's on the Steelers now, but just bad linebacker play. Horrible linebacker play. The reason we couldn't stop the run, the reason that we couldn't defend against the pass, just horrible linebacker play. And this isn't anything personal against our linebackers. It just has been bad. The worst in the league, which I pretty much thought we would be when Blake Martinez didn't come back, which ended up being a thing where he was going to be a 2-down player for us. He didn't want to be a 2-down player. He left, then got signed to the Raiders and then retired in the middle of the season. So that linebacker spot is a huge need. I think that's our biggest hole in the league and on our team. I mean, if you look at our team and you say NFL players, the guys that you would say are the least like NFL players as far as their talent level is middle linebacker, off-ball linebacker. So that's the spot that I think we really need to address. Now, I see a couple of linebackers that I like that are like talked about as like, 2nd round players, 3rd round players. But I think some of these linebackers might start moving towards the back of the 1st round. And I think that might be a perfect spot for us to get one of these linebackers that are athletic. a guy I've been talking about. I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it. But a guy I've been talking about is why am I forgetting his first name? His last name is Henley, and he is explosive. He tackles with assertiveness. Uh, and as far as coverage, he's just smooth. He's a former wide receiver. He has great ball skills. So definitely be on the lookout for something like that, where these guys move from like the third round, second round, that down to the back end of the first. And I think that might be the perfect spot to take one of those guys. You got a guy like Trenton Thompson or Trenton Simpson. I'm not that high on him. He's the consensus number one, but I just don't see the explosiveness and the lateral ability to justify that. Now going downhill, he's good, but you need a linebacker that can do more than that. Even as far as diagnosing runs and finding things, I just don't see it. You got a guy like Jack Campbell. I think his name is Jack Campbell. But anyway, he's not. I don't know. I don't know anything about Jack Campbell. I haven't watched his tape yet. But from what I've seen, he's not the type of future style NFL linebacker. Now, listen, I might watch it, some more of it, and I might change my mind. But right now, he doesn't look like the future type of NFL linebacker that I want to be taken in the first round. Um, so that's linebacker. That's linebacker. That pretty much covers it. I think there's a couple of guys that will sneak their way into the back of that first round, and we'll have a shot at. Your third option, which I think you probably get the most value out of all of these things, is cornerback. Now, I think there's about five or six cornerbacks in this draft that you could justify taking in the top 20. From what I've seen so far, I really think there's a really good cornerback class this year. As far as how top heavy it is, and you got guys after that who I think can still be starting level corners, well into the second, third, maybe even the beginning of the fourth round. So I think if we take a cornerback in the first round, I think we probably get the best value out of drafting any other position. And we can talk about interior offensive line. I haven't done a ton of work there yet, but as far as value, I think you get your best out of cornerback. You got Christian Gonzalez, you got Joey Porter Jr., you got and and while I'm saying this, I'm forgetting people. But you have literally, again, I've just been watching the tape. You got Witherspoon, you got, I think his name is Weatherspoon, but you got a ton of guys. You got Ringo, who's like 210 pounds and about 6 feet, maybe 6'1", 210 pounds, all the potential in the world, physical corner, lays people out. So you got a ton of options at corner that you can go towards. And I think if one of those guys are there, you got Cam Smith, another guy. One of those guys are there at 25 and you pick him, that's a slam dunk pick in my opinion. And then lastly, interior offensive line. And again, I have not done really any work on interior offensive line yet. But from what I've heard, as far as, people telling me things, I haven't seen an interior offensive lineman pop out that is just like, we got to take this guy at 25. We got to take him at 25. And listen, I could be wrong, and if I am, I'll admit it. But I haven't seen a guy pop out that has just been getting that buzz as a guy that we need to take over a more premium position. And I do think we'll address that position in free agency too. So I'm not really worrying about it. But if we take a guy there, hopefully they are that blue chip of a player that we take a guard or a center with the 25th overall pick and they step in and they show out. But again, do you really want to get lower? Do you want to get younger on this offensive line? In theory, you do, yes. But also you got Evan Neal, who's still learning. You got Izudu, who knows if he'll start. But if he starts, he'll be playing beside a rookie center. Do you want to do that? So whoever you draft will end up playing probably beside a second-year player or another rookie, or who knows. But I think we'll address that in free agency. So I think this is the least likely pick we make in the first round out of these top four. Now, of course, if Saquon leaves and we think Bijan Robinson, hopefully I got this name right, but the number one running back in this draft, if Saquon leaves and he's there at 25. Maybe we do take him there. Maybe we take that guy there. I'm trying to think of some other premium positions. If a tackle falls and he's just so great of a tackle, or if an edge falls and he's so great of an edge that he's so much better than everybody else, we might go there. But I think those first three spots, wide receiver, linebacker, and cornerback. I think those three spots are the spots that the Giants will be focusing on. And you guys can let me know where you're focusing on. Definitely drop your players, the players that you want the Giants to take, down in the comments. Talk about the positions you want the Giants to draft. So drop that down in the comments. What I'm going to be doing is making a ton of videos. I got a ton of stuff already recorded yet already as far as like clips to talk about in these videos, but drop your favorite prospects that you want the Giants to take in the first round. Drop them down below, and I'm going to be looking through these comments, and I'm going to be adding a lot of these players to my list for, film breakdowns in the future. So you guys let me know what you're thinking of this draft, and again, drop those things down below, and I'm out of here. If you made it this deep into the video, come on, just hit the subscribe button. I make Giants content primarily, draft content secondarily, and during the season, I'm going to be doing a lot of reacting to pretty much most of the NFL games and everything NFL. So if you made it this deep, go ahead and join the D6 squad.